Alright, here we go. Welcome, welcome. This is me doing another base tour. I'm just about at the end of MV, starting HV. I've gone a little tiny bit into HV, but mostly preparing, mostly kind of getting ready. And yeah, I did another base tour kind of before when I was at the end of LV, just starting into MV. And now I'm doing another one. And since then, I've actually updated to the daily version of Gregtech New Horizons 2.9. I think it's daily 490, whereas before I was on just the standard release version 2.84. So yeah, I guess let's get into it, see what's kind of changed since the last one. You might already be able to tell, it looks a little different around here, at least this part here. I was doing a lot of base building and decorating, so I guess let's just start with that. I've still kind of kept my main hub area, but you can see it's styled a little bit differently, especially in here. You can see I switched out that chiseled cobblestone wall I had with this polished basalt. I still have the layer 1 accent, but I've done a lot more with it. Oh, there's a horse around here somewhere. Wow. Yeah, and this was gonna be my like storage room and hub, which didn't really end up happening. I think maybe I'm still gonna do something with that. I don't know. I have a hard time making proper storage rooms. I still have this pillar here, which I put a little bit more stuff in, but honestly, I don't really use this thing all that much. I have stuff stored elsewhere, and it kind of is just a little bit inconvenient. So, I don't know. I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with storage. But yeah, so we can see I still have the LV machines here as well. Still in service, actually. It's making a bunch of wires for me in the wire mill here. And the steam machines as well are over here. These have been pared down a little bit as I've needed them for other stuff, but it's still there. And I still have this little alcove here of LV machines, just a couple of the extra ones that I use a little bit less frequently, and also the circuit assembler, which I guess I use more frequently, but is still a little bit kind of uncommon. And I have a combustion generator down there, powered off of just like a cell of diesel fuel. This thing is used so infrequently that just kind of lasts forever. Yeah, I guess that takes me to diesel fuel. I'm running off of that now. I got oil set up. But I guess before we talk about that, we can look at the base here. I've done quite a bit of decorating. You can see I built out this big old chandelier thing here, which I think is pretty cool. It might be a little bit too busy. I'm not sure how I feel about it entirely, but I know I spent a little bit of time just kind of building that out, having some fun with that. So I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, kind of decorating the whole of the base with this sort of black and red style, sort of like a dark wizard type of vibe. I don't know. It's kind of cool. But yeah, so that's what I went with. I've got all my MV machines over here in a line right now, which has been working out well for me. I've got the electrolyzer here in the end and hooked up to a couple of tanks for the various fluids that we get out of electrolyzing, which is kind of convenient. And then over here as well, I have a whole bunch of extruders, each just kind of dedicated to a specific part, which is maybe a little bit overkill, honestly, at this point, but it was pretty handy. I was just so sick of swapping out the molds all the time and the extruder for making different things, so I just made a bunch of them and gave each one a dedicated. So, you know, we got rotors, rods, gears, small gears, huge pipes, large pipes, normal pipes, small pipes, bolts, rings. And there are a couple more extruder shapes as well that I don't have here. I do have an extruder over here in the main line with some of those as well. So, you know, we've still got that there if we need to do something weird. But yeah, I mean, most of the base is still pretty intact. Like I have all the steam machines here still. I've got more stuff going on down there. We'll get over in a bit. I started doing a little bit of Thaumcraft, really not too much. I've got my little Thaumcraft area over here. I think this is kind of temporary. I'm going to build like a dedicated area, I think, especially once I start getting into like infusion and stuff, which I should be able to do soon. You can see I've got the V-shrooms lined up here. I can go grab them when I need them. The armor I can swap to get the V discount when I'm crafting. And all I've really done with it, honestly, is make the wand and then the focus of equal trade, which was very, very helpful for swapping out the cobblestone walls for the basalt. So yeah, so that was really great. Um, and then yeah, let's see. So what are the major things I've done since being in MV? So obviously I made all the machines and stuff. I made oil. I made diesel out of oil, which I mentioned before, but I guess I'll talk a little bit about where I'm getting that oil. It used to be a big spout right over there, and I built a little aqueduct type of thing over there, which was pretty cool. So for the longest time, I was harvesting oil off of that. If you just saw me do the little creative flight, that's because of this maglev pylons. I do have the maglev harness on me, which allows you to have creative flight when you're, I think it's 16 blocks in range of this thing, which is super handy. So I have a couple of these spread throughout, and actually just made a ton of them recently. I'm going to put these throughout the base in strategic locations so I can fly around, which will be nice. But anyway, I made the fluid pipeline from this oil spout that goes back into the base over there. This lasted a long time, but eventually it ran out. And so then I started going over here, and I just entered free cam mode, which is a super nice feature of 2.9. You just press F4 and you get a free cam, and you can increase the speed, go as fast as you want. And I think this lets you fly as far as your render distance, which is pretty cool. So there used to be a spout, I think it was over here, somewhere over here, not too far out, but that ran out pretty quick. It was a small one. And then I extended out quite a bit further to this other one, which lasted a bit longer, and I actually still have this one set up, although I think it's out of oil by now, definitely out of oil. So yeah, this was a good source of oil for a while, but ultimately ran out, and I had to switch to other sources. I ended up going with oil berries, which is a new thing in 2.9. It's a crop you can grow that gives you... I'm just looking for my hang glider. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so the oil berries are a new crop you can grow with the new GTNH crops, which is a replacement for IC2 crops, which is really, really powerful. So I guess let's talk about that as well. I went pretty hard into crops here. This was sort of my crop breeding area. I just kind of did in this little space in here. I got all kinds of crops you can see I've been growing over here. And yeah, so we can see in this filing cabinet, I've got all my fully statted crops. These are all 31, 31, 31s with a whole variety of things. I've got quite a bunch of them. I kind of went crazy with the breeding there. And then I've got all the storage here, kind of the products of the crops, and then also like the blocks you need underneath or whatever to grow them. I've just got stored here. And then these are my kind of garbage crops in this filing cabinet. That's the other one. I've got a little setup here for enriched fertilizer. This is just a steam turbine. It has no steam, which is slightly concerning. Where is there no steam? Okay, I'll have to figure that out. Yeah, there's a fluid extractor on the fertilizer, extracting into this enriched or regular liquid fertilizer, and then you just mix it with some regular fertilizer in the chemical reactor to make enriched fertilizer. I have that stored in a little tank, and that also feeds into this crop breeder, which lets you breed crops together. And this is actually the first HV machine I made, which is kind of funny, this advanced crop breeder 2, because I needed the HV version to breed a fully statted oilberry seed. The MV1 was not sufficient for fully statted, so I would have had to downstat it and breed it back up, which I didn't want to do, so I just made an HV1. But yeah, so that's getting fertilizer mainly from this gigantic field of Fertilia that I'm growing, which is a crop that yields basically fertilizer products. It yields calcite, phosphate, and apatite, as well as actual just straight up fertilizer. So I'm storing all these three products, and then the fertilizer comes out here, so everything gets harvested. It comes out the back, and priority goes into this little drawer, and then gets routed back into this setup here to make the enriched fertilizer, which then gets piped out back into the crop managers. So yeah, there's a whole field of Fertilia down here. And then on top, I have, this thing has gotten kind of destroyed from me jumping on it. I had a bunch of oak bonsais here that were powering my charcoal setup over there in the pyrolyse ovens, or not pyrolyse ovens, I never made a pyrolyse oven, in the coke ovens, but those are actually kind of out of commission now. I had a compressor here that was compressing the charcoal into compressed charcoal, but I accidentally exposed it to the rain at some point and that blew up. So the setup is kind of broken. I still have like the drawers here, and I never actually set it back up again. I have so much. I have 64 stacks of charcoal, like item charcoal, and I have 71 and a half stacks of charcoal blocks. So I got tons of the stuff. I've got a good bit of creosote too. I'm probably going to tear down this tank and just move it, but I'm not really using this for anything anymore. But I still have it here. So yeah, this is all kind of obsolete at this point. I could set up for benzene or something, but I'm getting my power with diesel, so haven't really felt a need to do anything there. But anyway, yeah, we can go back over to the crops. I still have the BBFs running too, by the way, which just chugging out steel, which is handy. At this point, I kind of feel like I don't really need them, but it's easy enough to just, grab some blocks of charcoal from over there, grab some iron whenever I run by here and throw them in, and it just gives you a nice trickle of steel. I've tried to keep my EBFs pretty busy, kind of running around the clock while I'm online. I don't run it while I'm AFK. I just have things running while I'm on the world, but I've kept those EBFs running constantly, making other stuff other than steel. So there hasn't been much time, so it's been nice to have the BBFs. Although, you really can make steel really, really quickly if you do the wrought iron thing with it. So I feel like I don't really need the BBFs anymore, but I've still got them. But anyway, so this first crop manager, this was the first one I set up down here. Initially, this was cotton down here at the bottom. I was making to make a bunch of woven cotton for enchanted fabric, so I could do Thaumcraft. I just did not have enough cotton, so I set that up first. And then right after, I set up the oak bonsais on top to get a bunch of wood for the coke ovens. But that's kind of obsolete at this point. So I still have most of them as oak bonsais. I swapped them over for fully statted 31-30-31 bonsais. I think the slime ones are still 1 ones. Because, yeah, that's a really nice thing about the new crops. You can get slime bonsais, which makes it easier. You don't have to grow the slime trees manually anymore. Let's see, slimy bonsai. You get, congealed slime blocks and slimy saplings out of it. I know you could grow like stickweed or whatever with IC2, but from everything I heard about it, it was kind of a nightmare to get into IC2 crops. So, when I felt like I wanted crops, I just kind of made the switch and did the upgrade to the 2.9 daily, which I've been very happy with. It's really cool, a lot of the stuff in the new update. A couple of minor bugs I've encountered, but really nothing serious, so, definitely worth it, I would say. But yeah, anyway, growing the slimy bonsais here. A couple other things. I've got ink blooms, which give me ink sacs. Papyrus gives me paper. The oak bonsais gives me, oak logs. And then I set up some more crop managers over here. This is growing more like resource stuff. So I got diorides here growing diamonds and diamond dust. Nickelback grows nickelback flowers, which allows you to essentially quadruple your yield from nickel ore, which is great. Clay lily gives me clay. Witherreed gives me some coal, and then also like wither skeleton skulls and some other things. But it's really for the wither skeleton skulls I set it up because I know I'm going to want to kill some withers and get some nether stars, so I thought it'd be good to get that up and running. Endstone lily gives me endstone dust, which I also haven't really processed, but I know I can get, I think, platinum from it, and a helium, which would be useful if you centrifuge it. So I might start doing that soon. I think I've accumulated quite a stockpile. Lazulia gives me lapis. Glow wheat gives me glowstone. Evil ore gives me quartz stuff, like nether quartz, and I think you get some Certus quartz out of it. Basalt lily gives me basalt dust, which you can compress into regular basalt, which is super helpful for building the base, because I made everything out of basalt, so I need a lot of that. And then rubine. This gives me rubies, rubies and ruby dust, which was honestly one of the main reasons why I wanted to get into crops, because I was so short on chrome, which I need for Canthal and stainless steel and some other stuff, which was important for kind of progressing through MV and then into HV ultimately. And I felt like I was just constantly short on chrome. But then I made these rubine plants, and these are crazy. You just get so much yield from them. It honestly feels a little bit OP, but I don't know. I guess I'm not complaining. But yeah, and then I just recently set this up, this second plot here, because I wanted to grow some more crops. Argentia, Tine, Copon, and Plumbilia. These are like the Nickelback. They quadruple their ores of their relevant metal. So Argentia is silver. You can quadruple your silver. Tine is tin. Copon, copper. Plumbilia is lead. And there's some others too, but I haven't set up those yet over here. And then yeah, over here I have storage for my crops. If you can hear those macerators running, I don't know if there's a way to silence them. It's a little bit loud and annoying. I have processing underneath. We'll get over that in a bit. But this is where I'm storing some of these resources. You can see I have quite a lot of this stuff. The Tine, the Copon, like I've got 2,000 diamonds in here, 11,000 rubies, 32,000 ruby dust, only 23 wither skulls. That one's pretty slow. I used to be growing corium, which gives you leather, but I got so much of that so quickly I kind of stopped growing it in favor of some other stuff. Almost 9,000 blocks of slime. I was growing hemp for a little bit. I got a bunch of these hemp stems, lots of fertilizer. So just tons and tons of resources from these crops. It's really pretty great. So yeah, so that's really good. And then I guess so yeah, I've decorated more in here, as you can see as well. I guess we'll hop over here into this other crop area. I'm growing ore berries down here, which yield you metals directly. So I've got copper ore berries, I've got iron ore berries, gold ore berries, aluminum ore berries, tin ore berries, and then red straw over here, which is not an ore berry, but it also kind of needs a dark environment to grow, which is all these need to be dark, which is why I have them separate down here, and it's so dark in here. Red straw is a little bit annoying. It needs to be dark, but not too dark. So that's why I have these other torches here. So yeah, that's all growing that stuff. And then I send all the products of those go into here. We can see we have the ore berries. And now I have these two steam grinders here, grinding up the ore berries. So what you have to do is you have to grind up the ore berries into dust, and then you can cook the dust into ingots if you want to get ingots. So I get the aluminum coming out here. I cook the rest of it into ingots. So the gold, the copper, the iron, and the tin. And then also the basalt I have coming down from the drawers right up there into this compressor, the steam squasher. I have just a steam line running through. I also have an auto chisel set up here to chisel, because you get this this different version of basalt that comes out of the compressor. So I have it auto chiseling into the polished basalt that I actually use to build the base. So yeah. And you can see there's a bit of an imbalance. I've got way more of the gold ore berries than I have of the others. And that's because at first I just had like one pipe that was feeding into one input bus for all of these the macerators like together, which didn't really, it just would take the other four before it took the gold. So now I have a dedicated input bus for each of the different types of berries, right? So this one's iron, this one's gold, aluminum, and so on. The other two are kind of shared in the middle between these two. So hopefully that should keep it a little bit more balanced. So yeah, I have all that processing set up. We can come down over into this area. So this is from over here. This all connects nicely here. It connects through. There's this random marble block here I can grab. Yeah, so this all connects together now, which is nice. Yeah, I've expanded this processing area quite a bit. I doubled up my centrifuges here. You can do a cute little thing. You can flip the steam separator controller upside down, and you just add like one layer of blocks here. And this thing is like symmetrical across this axis, so you can do that in wall share kind of vertically like this. Essentially just get a double one for only a couple more blocks, which is nice. You know, all my separator products here, lots and lots of dusts. I've got my EBFs. I made a double. I doubled up on this and upgraded to Canthal coils, and these things have been running quite a lot. You can see I've accumulated quite a lot of aluminum, redstone alloy, cobalt. Most of this cobalt comes from this other thing actually, and then yeah, this is the main output chest. I have that cooking up some black steel right now. I know is important for HV, so I'm preparing there. And then just more aluminum there. I can never have too much aluminum, although at this point I might have... Oh my god, there's a ender creeper over there. My goodness. Alright, we're gonna have to take care of that. Let's see, where's my sword? There it is. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. It actually did blow up, I think, when I killed it. Like, just the nick of time? Okay, that was scary. Okay, anyway, whew. I made the ore washer here, which is set up, and I have a little bit of automation here. Actually, let me see if I can show. Let me grab some... I have some crushed ores. Here, we'll grab some sulfur. There's not much of a point in washing sulfur, I guess, because I think all you get out of it is more sulfur, which I've got plenty of, but, you know, we'll have this run. I have this go. I have the output washed ore automatically gets sent over to the HV macerator here, which was a good thing to build. Definitely one of the first HV machines you want to make, I think, because you actually get the extra byproduct from macerating an HV, which, you know, is shown in all these things here. You don't actually get it until you have an HV machine. So now finally we're getting that. So I have just some conduits underneath that, yeah, you can see it comes up here into the macerator. And then I also have the purified dust coming out of this going automatically into the centrifuge here, which are not running because all these chests are full. So we'll take some lazurite out because we want to electrolyze that, make some room for that. So yeah, that's sort of a problem I've been running into. Everything, all these buffers are filling. I need to set up more automation to do this stuff automatically. Let's see, what else is there over here? I still have the thermal centrifuge is still set up here. I did move the arc furnace. I moved it out over here just to clear up this walkway so I could actually, you know, kind of walk through here properly instead of just like running into it from the stairs. And upgraded it to MV so I can cook glass directly from sand, which is really nice. I have the chemical bath to cool down the hot ores that we get from the blast furnace. I also have that automatically wired up underneath. As you can see, we got lots of canthal, some tantalum, some silicon solar grade. I also built the steam alloy smelter over here, which I held off on making this thing for so long because I felt like the LV one was like honestly fine. Like I just throw a bunch of metals in there and like eventually they'd be done and that was fine. But so I thought I didn't really need it, but ultimately I made one, and I was wrong. I really did need this thing. It like lets you cook up so many. Look at all these alloys, so quickly. I mean, this takes like almost no time at all to like cook up this volume of stuff. So that's really great. Yeah, so that's that stuff over there. Let's see. Let me throw a bunch of this lazurite in the electrolyzer. That's cool. And then, yeah, so I guess now I started talking about the oil. We can go back to that. So this is where I make the diesel. This is where the pipeline comes in from, you know, this part over here. The pipeline came down right into a tank over here. We can see now I have a super tank full of crude oil. And that just gets processed. It gets distilled in here. You know, we do the desulfurizing with the hydrogen. I found an oil sands vein and just got a ton of oil sands, so I'm getting the heavy oil from that to make the heavy fuel, and then we mix it in here to get the diesel. And I have this lamp set up, so if it ever dips too low, it will light up, so kind of let me know. I've had a few incidents with that, with something gets broken here, and then we don't have fuel, and then that can cause big problems. I also have this reserve of super tank full of a good bit of fuel, just in case of emergencies. We need to swap that out. And then the hydrogen sulfide gets stored over here, and then I have this set up to automatically process it into sulfuric acid. I have it turned off right now because there was something wrong with it where it was like stealing all the cells and shutting this down, so I need to fix that. But it was running for a while and got me quite a good bit of sulfuric acid. And then I have, the only problem with doing that is then you need to pipe in fresh hydrogen instead of having it be recycled. So I have this, but I already had that set up. I had that set up before I realized you could electrolyze the hydrogen sulfide to get the hydrogen back, so I already had it set up. So I figured I might as well then make the sulfuric acid there. And then here's where the oil berries are grown. We're growing lots of them. And then all you gotta do is fluid extract them to get the raw oil out. So that's super nice. And I have that powering my fuel right now, and these grow super quickly. I was originally going to set up an industrial farm to grow these things because I thought I wanted to check that out and kind of experiment with it. But as I was making it, it was really kind of expensive. Like, I think you need an MV crop manager as like one component of just the controller. And I was like, I feel like just an LV crop manager would really take care of pretty much all my needs here, and that was totally the case. So yeah, I just have this for now, but I'm sure I will set up the industrial farm soon for something. But yeah, so yeah, anyway, we can see, so this is, you can see this pot and pipe here, the fuel line that runs kind of everywhere from out. This oil extractor is dumping the crude oil underneath, and it kind of runs over to here, which is my polyethylene setup. Pretty straightforward. It just takes the oil, distills it into sulfuric gas, combines it with some hydrogen that we get. This one I do have the electrolyzing the hydrogen sulfide set up to have a closed loop hydrogen and just get the sulfur byproducts here. So yeah, it makes the sulfuric gas, electrolyzes the hydrogen sulfide, mixes it with steam to make the steam cracked refinery gas, and then we distill that into ethylene, chemical react it with oxygen, which comes from over there. All the hydrogen and oxygen comes from here, which I guess I'll talk about in a second, and then ultimately dumps out the polyethylene into this super tank here. So that's working wonderfully. I still have the same boiler here for steam. It's running off of diesel now. I still have the creosote hookup to it in case like I said, there was a few incidents where the diesel stopped, so it's nice to have the creosote kind of as a backup there in those instances. But that hasn't happened in a good while, and hopefully it won't again, so yeah. I just have a little basic setup here, making me hydrogen and oxygen. There is no oxygen left. Okay, I need to do something about that. There's a bunch from the electrolyzer. I guess maybe I'll move over here. This is just electrolyzing water into hydrogen and oxygen. Simple enough. And then this here is a compressor, compressing air, and then centrifuging the air to get nitrogen and some more oxygen that goes into here, but there's none left. The hydrogen and oxygen, you can see the pipes. It kind of goes everywhere. It gets sent down here to do the oil, and then the oxygen comes here to do the polyethylene. And then also the oxygen gets piped into the blast furnaces to cook the various metals that need it. And then also down here I have two more hatches. I have a shared one for nitrogen and one for hydrogen. And I just have super tanks feeding those. Initially I was going to pipe them over. I was trying to figure out how I was going to route the pipes in there. And then I realized, like, we don't use that many of it, and I had super tanks full of the stuff, so like, why don't I just move the super tank underneath, and that'll last for a very long time. So I did that, and then put new super tanks here, and like, this one's already full of nitrogen again, so I think that was definitely a good call. So yeah, I have that. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, I can talk about the Ender Pearl automation I have down at this level. I still haven't really done anything down here. And this thing is full. Not that full. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, I have the smeltery set up here, so actually, okay, it's dumping right now. If you get a Enderman in a Tinker's Construct smeltery, it will take ticks of damage and produce an Ender Pearl's worth of liquid every time it does. And then you can just dump it out into this like pan mold and basically get Ender Pearls out of that. So what I did is I was buying Enderman spawn eggs off of cooldown for a long time with coins until I eventually had a ton of them, and then I just used them all into this smeltery. And I was lucky enough, I think I had a full stack of spawn eggs, and I got one regenerating Enderman. So it regenerates health faster than it takes damage in here. So basically, it will just stay in here and produce me free Ender Pearls forever. So yeah, and it's a little bit tricky to like balance the rate that it produces the liquid with the rate you output it. So I have this timer here that I have almost calibrated to keep this sort of balanced. So it'll accumulate liquid, and then it will pulse and emit a redstone signal to dump the liquid out and produces more ender pearls. And this will like run for a while, but like eventually stop. So I sort of eventually tried to dial it in to sort of keep it balanced. I think it slowly like fills up the smeltery over time, which is like not the best, but it's also not that real big of a deal. It takes like multiple hours at least before that actually happens, and nothing really actually happens at that point. I don't think there's like a problem with it, so I don't know. It's like basically fine. And yeah, you can see it's produced 42,000 pearls so far. That's pretty good. So yeah, I think that's most of the stuff we have. I still have this area down here I haven't really done anything with. This is my little concrete setup that I have making snow right now. I wanted to use it to like put, you need like a blue ice or whatever to make basalt in the rock breaker, which I thought I wanted to do, so I set this thing making lots of snow for that. I ended up just doing the crops for the basalt instead, but you know, I guess this is making me a lot of snow in case I'll need it at some point. Oh, right here. This is the silicon solar grade setup. I just pop in silicon here, and it will automatically run the process to produce silicon solar grade. So that's pretty handy. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. I think that's everything. So yeah, I guess that's the update of me, you know, going through MV. I think I'm well positioned to go into HV. I've been really stockpiling tons of resources. Oh, here, this is the vending machine. Really cool feature of 2.9. You can, instead of the coin quest page, you can just do stuff in here. So like I can just buy diodes just like that, and it's super easy. Great little update. Yeah, so, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my MV stuff. I feel really well positioned to go into HV. I've got lots and lots of aluminum, a good bit of stainless, some energetic alloy I cooked up. I'm starting to cook up some black steel now. I've already got, you know, almost 5 stacks of it, so that feels pretty good. Oh, I didn't talk about this. This is the enhanced ore processing thing. So like if you take the you take like your raw ores, right, like raw cassiterite sand, you mix it with tine, and out you get 4 purified cassiterite plus 1 ingot's worth of a molten metal. So for cassiterite you just get more tin, so that just goes into a fluid solidifier to get that. And this is where all my cobalt came from. I ran a bunch of nickel through this, and you get cobalt as the the ingot byproduct of that, which is where most of this came from. And now I've just got oodles and oodles of nickel. It's everywhere. So yeah. So yeah, HV is coming up. I'm excited for that. I really want to get into Thaumcraft. I've done very, very little with it. So I'm excited to get going on that. Oh, it's raining. Let me sleep. I think I want to build out. Maybe I'll build out some kind of wizard tower. I mean, the theme of the base evolved to end up being sort of like wizardy. So I think maybe it would be a good idea to do some cool stuff with Thaumcraft there. Oh, this is just a little service area underneath the walkway here. I did make this is like a Thaumcraft arcane door or whatever. So yeah, it's called an arcane door. I thought it, you know, kind of keep with the theme here. So yeah, I think I'll try to do some good Thaumcraft stuff. Crops have been super awesome. I definitely recommend upgrading to 2.9. It's worth it just for the crops alone. It's super great. So yeah, I think that's about it for me. I do want to, you know, I'll do something with this like hub area, try to build out like a proper storage room. I feel like, how close is AE2? I feel like it's within grasp. like, because I feel like I can move through HV pretty quick because I've been doing a lot of prep for it. So I think what is it, EV when you get AE2? So like maybe it's worth just kind of holding out until that. Um, I don't know. I'm doing okay with kind of managing stuff here. It's starting to get a little bit too much to like be ferrying things between, because I'm like getting these large quantities of stuff that I have to move around, which is just a little bit too much. But I think I can do some more kind of basic automation with like conduits and stuff like I have underneath here. Maybe we can look at some of that, right? Like I have, just these conduits that are running between this. Like this is just dumping like the stone dust that comes out of here, So I think I can probably go pretty far just doing things like this. I've thought about dabbling with the logistics pipes mod a little bit. That seems kind of cool. I don't really see people using it a lot, which I'm not entirely sure why. It seems like it's kind of a cool mod, but yeah, I've just never messed with it much. So I've thought about that. I mean, conduits just kind of seems easier. I mean, conduits are super flexible. They feel really fast in this pack also, I've noticed. Like I remember like in Divine Journey 2, which is like what, a 1.12 2 pack, I think it's like they output like 4 every like 1 second, I think. 4 items every 1 second, like the base output speed. And they feel way faster here, which I don't know if they actually are, or it's just, or I don't know, I'm just hallucinating that. But I was a little bit worried that like, I'd have to make a bunch of speed upgrades or whatever to like actually get use out of those. And of course, this being GTNH, they're kind of pricey. It's a whole piston with a filter, and then the filters take polyethylene and the zinc and all the steel or the carbon mesh. So it's like a whole crafting process. But I have not really found myself needing them at all, at least so far. Granted, I'm not moving huge quantities of stuff around really, but yeah, they seem pretty good. So yeah, anyway, I want to expand this area out a bunch. Like, I don't really do much processing with the crops at all. Just like some very basic, with the ore berries and compressing the basalts. But like all this stuff basically just sits here until I come grab some. So I think I might even just tear down this whole storage here and just have it all piped directly into the main area. It would definitely be a lot more convenient, especially if I'm just grabbing everything myself. But like I think I could set up some automatic stuff, like automatically electrolyze the ruby, centrifuge the end stone dust, things like that, right? Because yeah, like I'm gonna need lots of platinum, right? So I have a little bit of platinum here. That's in this steam. It's in the steam area because that's where I have the ingot mold and the alloy smelter. So I just threw all the nuggets in here. It's kind of funny. I guess I'll throw them in this barrel to kind of keep things organized. But yeah, I think that's gonna just about do it for me. So yeah, I guess that's it. All right, have a good one.